And it's recording.
Hooray!
This is the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review. We just saw it yesterday. Um,
How long has it been since War for the Planet of the Apes came out? Are we? What
um,
was the gap here?
I want to say that was 2018.
War for the Planet of the Apes came out in 2017. It's been
Uh,
7 years.
7 years.
Though it has absolutely not felt like 7 years
It
from
hasn't,
that.
no.
That's kind of crazy. Um, yeah. So coming into it, there was a pretty big gap between films. What would you rank the first three in, or Rise, Dawn, and War? I don't.
Dawn's number one, War's number two, and then Rise.
Okay, I agree with Dawn at number one, which again is a second movie. Always felt like that one should be first. Um, but I like Rise more than I like War. I did not really care for War all that much.
Really?
I hated the way that
I don't
ended.
care for Rise very
I
much.
hated the way that ended. How they just killed Woody Harrelson's character not off screen, but they built up this whole
It's
thing on him.
anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was super anticlimactic, and I hated it. I hated it so much. Was not a fan. That's all I remember from the film is the sad part. That's it.
Well, me and Shelby recently rewatched them, so I like Rise. I didn't pay much attention to because it's like it's good, but it's just not my cup of tea. I guess it's like definitely like an origin story that I just wasn't crazy about. But like Dawn, in my opinion, is like one of the greatest sequels ever. Um, it was so great. Like I loved when we saw Dawn. I remember when we saw it. It was we sat up front at Roxy, and my dad and I think my ex was with us. We were like dead up front, but that's like when they had just put the recliners in or something. So like sitting in the front wasn't that big of a deal. Um, but I loved Dawn. There's something about Dawn where like I just like putting it on in the background.
It was just the world is more established. The characters were all very well done. There was conflict, just all kinds of internal conflict throughout all the characters, and it was just acted very well. It was just a very well done
And then
film.
Koba, I know he's been blowing up on Twitter, but like Koba's a top tier villain in my opinion.
Very, very, yeah, one of those very I don't want to say I mean technically sympathetic, but a very
Tortured
justified,
soul.
a very justified villain. Like his reasonings for being that way are completely understandable.
Yeah.
Um, you're not gonna get one like that in this film. Although I don't think Proximus was a bad character at all. I actually found him pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, he was an interesting baddie, and it was interesting that they had a henchman type thing with that gorilla, who I don't
Yeah,
think they gave a name at all.
no, I don't think they did.
But that gorilla was like brutal. Um,
The only thing was that Proximus was only in the film for like the second half, and I honestly didn't really care for the set piece that the second half of the movie took place in. Um, so the movie, I felt pretty. I have like high moments and low moments. I really preferred the first half of the movie a lot more than the second half. I really liked how, first of all, how good the movie looked. The jungle or the forest, I guess. The forest, how they the apes, because we're generations past the original trilogy that took place. But like Caesar's name is still very much involved throughout. He's still like a very central theme. But yeah, so they really established like what the world's turned into so far. The apes are kind of in a primitive human kind of a scenario. There's a lot of parallels to where they are and to where ancient humans were. And yeah, I just really liked how they had the clans going on. The group that we were following was big with eagles. They had their own pets.
falconry,
Yeah, there. I mean, you know what it reminded me
eaglery,
of
whatever.
immediately. It immediately reminded me of Avatar.
Oh, I never put that together.
It kind of annoyed me too. But no, because yeah, so the movie just starts with our main ape Noah and two companions. Already forgot their names. Not really important. Movie's fault because they disappear for most of the film. But yeah, so they're going to like what they call the top nest to go get an eagle egg or a falcon egg, whatever. The eagles. I'm pretty sure it's eagles.
Yeah.
To get the eagles. So I just see this. I'm just like, okay, so the native people are climbing up the highest point they can in the mountains to bond with a bird. That was essentially what they did in Avatar. It was the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Except the only difference was they're just getting an egg as opposed to a fully formed whatever the fuck those things were in Avatar.
Yeah. I didn't put that together. God, man, now do I hate it because it's an Avatar ripoff?
No,
It's
see,
not an Avatar ripoff, but-
I thought of that too. I was just like, man, that's a little unoriginal because of that. I just noticed it right away, but I will not take off any points for it because it was, it's just cool. It was just cool. It really made them that clan specifically special. Like that was their thing. They had a connection with the eagles, and that's like one thing that the apes as opposed to humans do a lot better is that they they connected with nature in a significantly more balanced and just like more of a bonding way than humans would. So I actually liked it, that connection. Totally cool with it. Yeah, so the first part was pretty good, and then as the plot progressed and we started moving into the second act, it kind of lost me.
Why do you think it lost you? Was it just like the?
I think I just liked that the set piece of the forest that was done so well, and then they went to like this a big sandy beach that was very much not a fucking forest, and I don't know, everything just felt kind of out of place. I just didn't really care for the set piece. It just got bland for me.
Okay, it's an interesting take by you. I don't think I've heard that before by you on a episode or after a movie before. So that's
yeah. I'm very conflicted with how I think about this film.
What do you think about like the motion capture now versus the other movies?
Oh,
like
I think
this one versus the other movie.
I mean, pretty seamless. I think the other ones just hold up so well. Well, I mean, Dawn, of course, and King, War. I don't actually remember how it looked in Rise all that much. It might look different after not seeing it for several years. But I mean, it's always been really impressive, and well done. Yeah, I mean, this looks just as good, if not better. I have never looked at the old ones and thought the motion capture could have been done better.
I just mean because like when I was watching it, I realized, specifically with the gorilla,
How good it
is how more expressive they are. Whereas in the other movies, like there's a lot of dialogue between apes and whatever, but they usually use like sign language.
I see
So
what you
they're
mean.
not-
Yeah, but now it's a little bit. They get to be a little bit more because they're speaking much more clearly now.
Yes.
Okay,
Like they still
I gotcha.
occasionally use sign language, which I found interesting that usually you would use sign language as a way of communicating without other apes knowing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting because it's like that's how the apes originally communicated, was through sign language. So
Well, because like apes now know sign language. That was something that you didn't need to be exposed to that to the virus or whatever for them to be able to speak. They could still communicate with signs. So that was something they could all do, and also apparently much easier to teach than a fucking language.
yeah, but like when they were communicating, Noah was communicating with his mother. She made the sign for like, be careful, we're his now. Which I took as her trying to sign to him without making everyone else panic around him, maybe. Like, I felt like every time they used it, it was because they didn't want everyone to hear what they said, or they didn't want that information to, I guess it's the same thing.
Because it's quiet.
Yeah.
because they were like when that happened, they were like in a crowd of like basically fanatics, because the Proximus basically built himself like a cult following that they would go out and enslave other apes to build into it, and then people just joined in,
Yeah.
just took part in it.
I also am curious as to what they did with the other humans because they caught a bunch of them in that uh, scene where they're being chased and everything in the fields and that creek, but you don't see any more humans until the end.
I think they were just looking for May.
They were just looking for May, but like, uh, was it like a catch? Okay, so was it a catch and release thing?
I
Like,
think so. I think they were just catching as many of them as possible to try and find the one.
okay,
Because I mean, if like we would go out and it was like, hey, there's a certain ape out there that we need to get, the response would be, okay, go get all of them because we can't recognize that one in particular all that well. Because again, it's implied that humans in this age are very seldomly seen. So like
yes.
to see a group of them at all was like a pretty rare event to see. Yeah, so I think it was just they all look alike kind of a thing.
Okay.
Just go get all of them.
I can understand that because there were parts where they caught one and then they were like, nope, not it, and like either shoved him aside or, like pushed him out of the way, things like that. So I guess that makes more sense.
I'm also very confused as to why the humans are like that.
So it said so in the beginning of the movie, um, and it's also mentioned in War, I think on a couple occasions, where the virus is having the reverse effect on humans than on apes.
So did it stop becoming lethal?
So
Because like
Yes.
it was supposed to be lethal to a insane portion of the population, maybe or not. I guess
Yes.
maybe like there's a very small amount that are not dying to it, but are in just becoming primitive.
yeah, so it killed off the majority of the population, and then the survivors become like immune to it, and then it evolves. It there's another word for it. I think I'm forgetting. Mutates. There we go. It mutates. So then when you started getting into war, it started to make people mute where they couldn't speak.
Okay, so it's a detail I forgot about in War. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
fine.
they're unable because if you remember in War, they run into that girl.
No, I don't.
Oh, shit. Well, they run into a girl on their way to the, Colonel's fortress or whatever, who's staying at this house with her dad, and her dad can speak, and the dad I think pulls on Caesar, who shoots him, and they find the girl and she can't speak, and they thought that was weird. So then they get to following the colonel's men who stop for some reason, and they're startled by the apes that are following them are startled by gunfire, and then they leave. And then when the apes come check out what was going on, there's a bunch of soldiers laid out that were like executed, and they thought that was weird. So then when they get to the camp and they're captured, Woody Harrelson's character says, this it leads up to the comment he says about this is going to be a Planet of Apes, because he's like the virus mutated and it's making people like mute and essentially dumb. I don't know, like dim-witted. He says it makes them confuses people.
I'm gonna stick with the word primitive.
Well, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
word in this movie. I think that's what they said is it's making them primitive, but to them, they were trying to make it a little more less use less big
Okay.
words, I guess. So it made sense to me. So I hope that made sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was just context from War that I forgot.
So just think of it like apes and man switch places.
That's what I got out of it.
Except apes, in a way, have a little bit more, you know, because we're evolved from apes essentially. So it's just that humans are de-evolving.
Yeah, each comes with their own perks.
Yeah.
Because they're so primitive though. Who give them another few thousand years, where that goes. End up with a statue of Lincoln that looks like an ape. Yeah.
Well, it won't be because it ties into the original
sense.
1970s movie where the Statue of Liberty is like half eroded into the ocean.
Did you think you were gonna see it?
See what?
Statue of Liberty when they got to that beach?
No,
No,
that's not something.
I didn't. I don't know where everything was really all that taking place, but in my head, I'm just like, is this the same beach? Are they gonna like bring us back to that like one of the most famous movie plot twists or reveals, I guess, not plot twists.
Well, a couple of things gave it away. One was there was a shot of them, Noah, May, and I don't remember what the smart ape was.
Roka or something? Rocka?
Rucka. It was like Rucka or Rocka.
I'll look it up real quick.
When they were leaving the city, it shows the skyline, and it was very obviously LA.
Oh, okay,
because it had that one weird looking design building at the airport.
Really? Did they travel that far? Because wasn't the original one back east? Or no.
It was San Francisco.
Never mind. No, you're right. I'm totally wrong. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's fine. Ignore me.
So I'll see if I can find that.
Now, speaking of that other ape though, who was like the follower of Caesar's actual teachings, I really wish there was more of that character in this film.
The smart one?
Yeah, the smart one. The one that couldn't read, but it was just he had like they had like the symbol of Caesar, which was the like the window from the home that he grew up in. That was like something that he always remembered fondly, and that became like the sign. The sigil of Caesar.
It's in all the movies.
Yeah. So he had that. So I mean, he essentially became almost like a religious figure in a sense of they followed his teachings for generations, and most either getting lost along the way or the teachings were being misunderstood. But yeah, I really like that character, like extremely well spoken, smart, reasonable, and there is just not as much done with the character as we enter into the third act. I do believe they leave it totally open that he can return in upcoming films, which I certainly hope he does, because I thought the character was great.
Noah?
No, Raka.
Well, I mean, I think he kind of drowned.
They did not. It was implied, but when someone has something like that happen on off screen, or it doesn't happen on screen and is not blatantly in your face, that they're gone.
So you're using a Game of Thrones trick, essentially, where if you didn't see him die, you can't say they died.
100%, yeah.
Okay, I think that's the current thought in everything now. So, and I like that because
because I mean, if you're not gonna kill a character, if you are gonna kill a character, you should make the most out of the moment. And sometimes you just don't, and just leave it open ended. Maybe that's never like the original intent, but it's open enough to interpretation to allow you to do that later on down the line. Because they certainly set up more movies to follow with the way that it ended.
Well, there is.
Did they confirm they're doing more?
They confirmed that they're doing like a couple more, like a handful more, like upwards of 3.
Okay. What do you think of the character Noah though?
I think Noah was refreshing. He was a refreshing character because he wasn't like. Very early in the movie, you understood him as being
young,
a family-oriented person or ape, whatever, and daring. So it's instead of having a character who is like the village dunce who suddenly becomes like a killing machine with very little training and very little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
Do
was
not mess up this wire, dog.
thanks, Griffin.
Am I still getting signal? Oh, are you good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
Um,
The dog almost cut the broadcast short.
I forget what I was saying. Yeah, it was a very easy. Sorry, Bubba.
Yeah, he didn't turn into a big bully, very strong, win all
Yeah,
things.
and he was very, ironically enough, humanizing. It was very easy to get behind him. I did like that he had friends, and that like he depended on people. And he was, it was just like a solid character.
No, I agree. I think they did a great job of, because I mean the central thing has always been from Caesar's teachings, ape together strong.
Yes.
So you don't need one person doing everything, because the whole point is that they do things together. That's where their strength comes from.
Right.
And honestly, he got his ass kicked the entire movie. He didn't kick
He
anyone.
really did,
He
yeah.
did not kick anyone's ass the entire time. He was a survivalist, and as they constantly thrown in your face, he was clever. He
Yes.
found other ways to win that were not just physically overpowering his enemies, which he was never going to do against that big ass gorilla anyway.
Yeah, he was a pretty cool character, and I liked it. And it was cool to see a character that like didn't know of Caesar and that whole thing, because obviously this virus that was so well traveled, like, if it's good for apes and bad for man, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be spots around the planet where, apes are going to evolve and, build settlements and things like that. So that part was cool. The beginning part with Caesar's funeral, I thought was cool.
Yeah, one last little ode to that, and yeah, just a reminder of where it came from, and then also to establish the time jump.
Yes.
Because while it was understood coming into the movie that this was going to take place generations later, if you watch the movies back to back to back to back, you have to have something in the films that shows there was a time jump.
And then you have those people that don't know, that they didn't know it, they didn't read up on it, they didn't
Surprise.
hear that. Yeah. So
There was one scene that did genuinely caught me. I thought was really interesting. That caught me off guard. Is when the what did they call them with the masks? They had a name for them. Never mind. I don't know. But when the gorilla and all them came and attacked the village, they had the fight at the top, and then he yells out for Caesar. And I was just like, oh, so we are generations down the line. These factions have really split, and they very well may all be following their own interpretations of Caesar's teachings. I thought that was probably one of the better things that they did. More things were left up to interpretation, and that caused turmoil between the apes.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I thought it was going to be like this evil kingdom, I guess, that we knew we were going to see was going to be like a descendant of, Caesar. But I didn't remember when I was watching if like any of his sons survived.
I think they killed his sons at the beginning of the first one, or at least his eldest. I'm pretty certain.
Well,
was
no,
killed.
his youngest son. I think his youngest son and his wife are killed by the colonel in war.
I know one of them absolutely was. Yeah,
I'd have to go back.
but yeah, no, there was no real mentions of descent there, and even Proximus didn't like claim to be Caesar. He claimed to be the new Caesar, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So not like a descendant, but almost like it's a title of what they call him, first elder is what they were. It was like the elder. It was status. It wasn't literal.
And
It was like it's super parallel with humans. It's like, yeah, everyone like different like their religions completely split up. They can follow the same God, but then they have different interpretations of it, and everyone loves to fucking kill each other over religious ideas.
Yeah. I was gonna say something else, and I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I thought that it was going to be one of those things where like Proximus was taking the name of Caesar, but he was teaching things that like Koba would have taught.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I
I thought it was gonna turn into. But then he started chanting Caesar's name, ape together strong.
Yeah.
I'm. He even specified, I'm not Caesar. I'm the new Caesar, kind of a thing. So I'm glad they made that very clear. At least, like there was a distinction.
Yeah. So that part was interesting.
Yeah,
But
that's probably one of the better aspects of the film, though. What I liked is how they treated Caesar over the generations.
yeah, like it was taken seriously by some, and others had no idea.
It's not like he was just some forgotten figure that very impactful in the beginning and then just faded away.
Well, I mean, Caesar gets a lot. I mean, they talk about him in the original movies and even the Tim Burton remake. There's talk of Caesar. You know, the ape that led them, and that's what they evolved from. Things like that.
Oh, that's right, because it connected to the originals, not the middle ones. That we kind of I forgot if there were more besides.
Well, there's just a Tim Burton remake, and then the original ones in the '70s.
Okay. All of a sudden, there's a lot of these movies.
Well, yeah. Well,
with more to come.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to be honest. Like, I haven't seen the original ones. I've seen tons of clips though. I want to watch the original ones. I want to watch all of them.
I wonder how well they hold up. I imagine they don't.
Well, I mean, I think that's a personal taste thing. I think people need to stop thinking of does it hold up in more of like story. It's like, yeah, you're gonna watch a classic movie. It's not gonna be shiny, kind of thing.
It's hard. It might be hard to take the people in the monkey suits or the fur.
Well,
serious.
I mean, then don't watch them.
I have to watch at least the original again just to fully come back into it. I don't remember when I actually did watch it. It was so long ago. I don't remember shit. Yeah. You just never forget the ending.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying, I didn't think at all that they were going to go back to that because of the part I saw where I was like, oh, that's in LA. And then another thing was it wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense that because I think there's even a longer amount of time passes between this movie and the original one. I think there's a lot more.
Oh,
time.
Interesting. No, I never really thought about that timeline.
Yeah. Because that's why they're making more. Is they're trying to cover a lot of ground in the.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you just can do whatever you want. You just have a planet that exists where humans were.
It's like what they're doing with Star Wars.
Evolved, yeah. I mean, there's all this established stuff, but after like this point, you can just go nuts. You just have a world that's just ripe for the picking to tell your own stories as you will, without having to mess with like the original storylines of it, and you're good to go. That's always what bring it back to Star Wars. I'm really worried about that with that Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It's just like you guys are going to fuck with the canon if you keep messing with this stuff, but they manage to just get away with it, so good for them.
I'm trying to look at how much time has passed.
Can you answer me this though about this? Because this is one thing that really confused me. What was May's plan exactly from the beginning? Because like she went from just someone like trying just like a random human just trying to survive and live on the land, just survive, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, she's different from the other primitives, and then she goes into the bunker and knows exactly which like hard drive or thing to pull out. She knows how to work everything.
It was a satcom. It was a satellite
communication. Yeah, and I'm just like, she knows her way around this. There's way more to this character.
And she knew how to take the satcom, which was...
And she knew how to make fucking bombs and how to light them.
Well, I think that you're supposed to come to the conclusion that she's had some sort of training.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like she knew exactly what she was looking for there. I just don't know if I fully understand how she got to how her intentions were to get to that point, or like what her goal was. Like, did she always know that that was there? Was something she was
So
looking for?
I took it from what I understand of the movie. I took it as she's from that satellite area bunker thing.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
Because like the ending that they set up is that there are still factions of humans that are fully intelligent.
Well, we at least one. There's that one. We
Yeah.
don't know for sure about others.
And they need ways to communicate. That's like the whole thing. Because
Well-
the way they said it was there's something in there that will allow humans to speak again. Not in the sense of literally speaking, but speak to each other over distances. That was what.
So I'm going to come back to that because I don't think that's exactly what it is, and we'll get to that. What was I trying to say? Okay, so what I was thinking about the May thing was she was trained, and she was sent with a larger group that then thinned out. And then she had the training, and the idea was to sink that base so they couldn't use the tanks and the vehicles and because like apes don't like water, obviously. I don't know if you knew that.
I'll be totally honest.
Like they can't swim.
I'll be totally honest. I don't think they could have figured all that shit out all that quick.
Well, I mean, they're talking.
I mean, there are some dumbass people who are walking around talking to me on a regular basis. They can communicate. They can communicate. I would not trust. They go into a tank. All they're gonna do is break it from the inside out. Have no idea how to work it. Mm-hmm. And if they do figure out how to work it, almost certainly kill themselves.
It's the possibility, I guess. So she wanted to flood it because apes can't swim. I think I remember learning that like their bones are denser, so they don't float. And they sink. That's why anytime water is brought into like the other movies, it's like when you said Rocco or Ruko, I was like, I don't think he made it because water.
Just hold your breath long enough, the river will take you down. At the same time, nice.
So
I didn't really think of it of all that. I thought it was more of a I'm just gonna flood it because it's all electronic down there, and just throw a bunch of electronics underwater. It's a good way to break them. What are they gonna do?
Well, that too, but
Dam
I think
it back
was
up
more so like it will if it's flooded out, then the apes will leave it alone, and they're not gonna really like dig for anything. So going back to the SATCOM thing, there's a line said by I think Noah where he says he goes to Ruka and he said May saw something swallow fire. She looked into
the telescope.
Yeah, which to me says she saw a black hole.
Is that what that's supposed to point out? They didn't really.
I think so. I haven't looked anything up. I've been waiting for this episode.
I think I missed this. I think this is the 90 seconds I missed.
Well, no, it wasn't.
Was it
you
not?
missed like the most. You missed a good part. Oh, I didn't say that. Let me rephrase. You didn't miss anything of importance.
I did not miss a pivotal plot point. I felt that.
Not that I can think of.
I felt that timed that pretty good then.
So that tells me it was a black hole because he said May saw it and she became frightened or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So I don't remember exactly, but I'm going to look it up when the episode ends, or I could look it up if we have time. I'm pretty sure that the astronauts that land in the original movie go through a black hole because they leave at the time that Rise of the Planet of the Apes leaves. They get lost by the time Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I think. I read, or maybe they get lost by the time Rise happens. I don't know. And then when they get the last part of the movie where they get a hold of somebody, I think that's them.
Okay.
But as I just looked up, uh, Planet of the this movie takes place in the year 2328. And Planet of the Apes, the 1968 movie, takes place in 3978. So
Okay.
so a lot of time passes.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it was more along those lines. I had no idea what the timeline was. It always felt like it was a super long time. Wow, the Statue of Liberty held on that long. Holy shit. Um,
Well, I mean, it's French.
but again, this was kind of one of my issues with
It's
the film.
1,650 years.
This was kind of my issue with the film is there was way more questions left unanswered for me than I would have preferred.
Well, from what I have gathered from this talk, I have already cleared up or put you in a better place.
Yeah, so think how I was in the theater.
But yeah, so I take it as they communicated with the shuttle.
I thought it was just some random ass people.
Well,
Again, they don't
that satellite that thing that they were the thing
yeah.
that's to talk to into space.
Yeah, like a satellite.
Yeah, but like
Also, that thing looked like it was beat to shit. I'm surprised it
beat to
worked.
shit. I mean, it's 300 plus fucking years old and it's beat up and not maintained. I'm surprised the thing didn't turn and break.
It looked pretty fucking broken.
But yeah, that's what I gathered from it. So I'll have to look it up. I guess I could probably look it up now. Planet of the Planet.
But yeah, there's plenty of questions. Or it's left a little open ended. Again, you had to look some of these things up. The next film they do, they can take into many a directions, but ultimately they are still heavily implying there will be yet another conflict between man and the apes.
Why do I have to get so many ads?
Because no matter what they do, they just simply cannot coexist. They just can't do it. They always find a way. They always have to do something. She had a gun. She was ready for she was ready to kill anybody at the end. She was not really helping like Caesar's case. Like, oh yeah, we can find a way to coexist. Like, nah, we can't. Every time they try, someone always fucks it up. There's always someone to fuck it up. So I imagine there's gonna be more conflict in the future, and I'm curious what they're gonna start naming the other films because they can't use war again. Conflict on the Planet of the Apes. I don't know what they'll come up with something.
What
What are you looking at?
I went to IGN to look at what it means. The satellite powers up and a technician sends a call asking if anyone else is out there. They quickly receive a reply from another base of humans elsewhere. The underground human resistance groups are now in contact with each other. Okay, so I was wrong.
Underground resistance troops.
Underground human resistance groups.
Resistance that implies there's a bigger kingdom of apes. Resistance, is like fucking rebel force, so there's got to be a kingdom or an empire or something
that you're post-credits thing.
that you're resistance again. There was a post-credits thing?
But it was an audio play. It was after the end credits finish rolling, we hear the sounds of an ape over a black screen. These murmurings sure sound a lot like Raka,
Ha!
the thoughtful orangutan who helped Noah and May on their journey. Raka appeared to have perished on a river along the way.
Yeah, I didn't buy it. I don't buy it at all. You don't kill. You can't do that. You can't leave it implied. You have to explicitly show it when it's a character that is obviously was well done.
It says,
Really wish that character had more stuff.
if that is the sound of Raka in the post-credit scene and not Proximus, Caesar, whose survival seems unlikely given the height of his fall,
There's no way.
it suggests that Raka and Noah may have their beliefs challenged in the next films. Will Raka still believe apes and humans can coexist in peace after he learns of May's betrayal, or if war breaks out between apes and humans? Like Professor
Betrayal?
X and Magneto, might Raka and Noah find themselves bitterly opposed and at a deal with humans?
I didn't get that at all. I didn't feel like there was like,
Well,
oh,
Noah doesn't trust May anymore. You got
well,
that.
that's fine. It's not like her actions were like completely unjustified. It's not like she went in there with the intent to get them all killed. It was just like, yeah, this dude is a dangerous dude. We don't want him to get the stuff in here. It's not like I want all apes to die kind of a thing. Um, if they're really trying to plant seeds of a conflict between them that like really escalates things down the line, I don't buy that at all.
Um, oh, Nova, I guess, is a name that they used in the 1968 film too.
Okay. They're sneaking
I
in.
know they used it in war too,
I
because
mean,
the mute girl is called Nova.
oh,
Bu- bu- bu-
interesting. Oh yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. They're trying to tie in some things to the original stuff, which is always cool. Might as well go back and watch them. Yeah, you want to get to the ratings and all that good stuff?
I'm really pissed. I thought I had this ending figured out.
Nah, get fucked. I was right.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I was right. It's just confusing.
Um.
Too open to interpretation. Not enough questions answered. Very open ended.
Yeah, it says
0 out of 50.
uh. Hold on, there was something I wanted to say because
This is the reading section of the podcast.
the film then jumps weeks. Eagle Clan apes are rebuilding their village. Yada yada yada. Noah says Proximus was right that humans will never rest until everything is theirs again and apes return to silence. The audience notices that May is holding a revolver behind her back, acknowledging that Noah is right not to trust the person he'd previously risked so much for. Freya Allen explained in a recent THR interview that the scene was originally far less open to interpretation than what's seen in the final version.
Except for my GN.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I trust them pretty well.
I don't.
Okay, we'll talk about that when this episode's over.
I have, just to sneak it in. So I've been waiting for this game to come out, the V Rising to release, and out of curiosity, I went up and looked at the review. Whoever the fuck did the review for V Rising on IGN, total fucking clown. That was the worst review I think I've ever read in my life.
What's B Rising?
V Rising, it's a vampire game.
Oh, okay.
The game is awesome. I have nothing but great things to say about it. But this dude,
that came out years ago, didn't it?
it did, but it had its official release this month. It's got a whole bunch more content to it.
Okay.
But yeah, so this dude goes through like this 5-10 minute review on it. He sounds like he's having the worst fucking time of his life. He sounds so bored.
Well, that's
and then he gives it like a 9 out of 10.
so that
It's like, dude, what the fuck?
So
What
that's
kind of
how
an effort is this?
jumping on that. So I trust IGN. I'm sorry that you had to read that.
I'm sure it varies per person, whoever does it.
Yeah, but like Jim, I forget his last name. It's Jim Vivojda or Vivojda. If I ever meet him in person, I'm gonna ask what his problem is, because when he was reviewing, I remember when the Snyderverse was being built. You know, Man of Steel had come out. Batman versus Superman came out. He made it seem like Batman versus Superman was the worst thing ever made. And like, though it wasn't the best, I didn't think it was terrible. And when he was doing the review, he was doing like a discussion with other members of the staff, and just he like looked like, I don't know, it just looked like he reeked of arrogance kind of thing. Like he was full of himself.
Like his opinion on this movie was right, and everyone else's was wrong, regardless.
Yeah,
of what they
and
said.
I think honestly, now that I've gotten older and taken film criticism classes and theory and stuff like that, I think I've come to understand that
he was right.
no, not exactly. I think what came from that was he's just not a comic book movie guy. Like if it's not.
Is he an old guy?
Marvel. What?
Is he an old guy?
I mean, he's got to be a little bit older than we are. But like,
okay, not the kind of old guy I'm talking about.
You know, he wants a critical darling, and it wasn't that. So, but anyway, yeah, let's get to the rating.
Okay. Favorite shot, I think. Yeah, shot.
My favorite shot was um, the one at the beginning when it's the eagle caught the fish and was flying, and it was like a pan shot of like this city that's overgrown and you know this dystopian utopia type deal, and then they catch up to the apes climbing.
That was really good. Yeah, that was really good. That literally was like one of the very first scene. Yeah, I could go on with a lot of great shots from the first part of the film because I just love the forest. But just to mix things up a little bit, I go towards the end of the film. They're doing this big climb up this rock wall, basically a budget Cliffs of Insanity, and they're climbing up and they almost fall, but then May is hanging on the back of Noah who's climbing up, and there's a really cool shot where they're just like catching their breath, but then you've got this like the wall of the mountain to the left, you've got the big fucking full moon, and the in the right corner you're getting the ocean at the bottom. I thought there was like a really cool shot right there. It was just really It
Okay.
was perfect with the wall and the moon and all that stuff. I like that.
Um,
Nice dark lighting effect.
so what is your favorite line of dialogue?
Favorite line of dialogue. I mean, I'd be cheating if I said ape together strong. Um, Let me
I
think
don't
of
think that
this.
would be cheating.
That would be 100% cheating.
Oh.
It's still this. It's still the overarching theme of the entire series. If I were going to go somewhere else, I think there was something that Noah said to his mother because she basically gave up hope when they got to the camp, and he was just, like we're still here. There was like a really sincere moment of like we are not gone yet. We'll get everyone out kind of a thing. I totally forget what the line was, but that was a good dialogue for me.
Okay. I didn't really. I really didn't have one. I can't think of one. Um, I guess I'll just cheat. I'll cheat, and I'll say when Noah learned shit.
That was pretty good. Shit.
So that'll be I guess that'll be mine.
Oh, he totally said it on my shot, on the cliffs.
Yeah, and then he first heard it when she was like prepping that water barrier to be blown up. But yeah, I'll just go with that for mine because there wasn't really any crazy deep thing that was said that got gravitated to me or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's mine.
Okay.
So favorite scene.
Favorite scene. I tend to not do stuff that goes in the trailer because they always save the good stuff for the trailer. I did like when they're like in the tall grass, and May has to grab onto Noah's arm to get onto the horse to evade the gorilla. That was a pretty cool scene, and I really wish they'd stop putting the best scenes in movies in the trailers.
I would have to say I'm glad we didn't see this in IMAX because all of the IMAX worthy scenes were in the trailer.
Yeah. And in the first 30 minutes of the film with all the landscapes.
Yeah. My favorite scene would have to be gosh, I had one a minute ago. I really liked the scene where Noah goes off to find another egg and then kind of catches up or barely misses a fight that the one scout got into with the masked apes.
Yeah, I also don't fully understand what that dude was doing out there, but
So they sent an emissary or scout or whatever to go scare off humans.
and then they got hit by the apes instead.
So Proximus had apes sorry, looking for humans, one in particular. So they kind of just wrong place, wrong time, coincidence type deal.
Okay.
So I thought that scene was really like intense, and I really felt it. And then it explained a lot because it's like, oh, okay, so more than one settlement of apes can talk.
Yeah.
Thoroughly, I guess you want to say.
What a shame that character died so early too. That was probably
the one being sent to scare the
that was
humans?
probably a pretty badass ape that could have done a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's how I got. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, that's the same ape that catches Noah
Snooping.
trying to snoop.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You climb top nest?" And he goes, "Yeah." I goes, "Very high." And then he like walked away.
Give it a little fist bump.
Yeah. So I guess that would be my, because that scene was like, it was shot well. There was a lot building up to it,
And it exposed a lot. Like, oh, there's other clans. Some are more dangerous. These ones have these things have prods that they have going around.
Yeah, and then you were scared because, like, the guy's, it's that plea of like, you have to tell them, and then the guy dies, and then you hear more coming.
Yeah.
Type deal. So.
And they were smart enough to scare the horse to go back to where it came from.
Yeah, that actually, you want to know something? That was a cool little.
That was
thing.
really clever. That was probably the most clever thing anyone did the entire movie.
Yeah, and a lot of movies, like, I'm not saying with horses they should do that, but like that part, instead of the let me capture somebody, beat the shit out of him, and he just gives up the, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's creative. That was great.
Like,
that was
horses,
refreshing.
Yeah, like horses are dumb, but they know where they're going. I think the only other movie I can think of where it's like the horse is probably gonna be fine on its own is Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, where they're going into the mines of Moria, and he's just like, don't worry, the horse knows where to go.
Yeah,
that's literally it. Otherwise, horses are just used to ride around things, and then they just conveniently never wander off anywhere.
Yeah, so that's my scene. I really like that. I mean, there's so many cool-ish scenes in that, but that was it for me.
Okay.
Ready? So what's your rating? Yeah.
Rating. Again, I'm super torn because I really enjoyed the first half of the film, and the second half did not do it for me. I was super confused with a lot of the plot lines and the directions they went with it. I don't think I fully understand what May's plan was from start to finish. And if I'm struggling this much, I think that means it could have been done better in the film. Was not super interested in the whole thing with the bunker and the sandy beach. But man, the first was really good. I'll go 35. I'll go 35. Low 30 36.
Okay. So I'm going with, I was originally going to say 35, but now I'm going with 30 because I thought I was hot shit, and they were talking to the humans on a base, or not a base, in space, who were just going to, the time that it took from contacting them to them getting out of this black hole to landing, it would have made more sense. But now hearing it was another settlement, I feel like an idiot. But I do know...
How do we know that it's another settlement?
IGN said it.
What if they're wrong?
I don't think so. It makes more sense now that I read it.
I think the timeline doesn't make sense. Okay, yeah.
No, the time. So now that I know that the timeline doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But the black hole thing doesn't make sense. Because every single one of the movies, I think, has alluded to something.
Okay, well, I mean, but in that sense, though, if the black hole is supposed to be an ode to the original, but then the timelines don't line up, then they're probably never gonna. That's probably never gonna come up again.
What's never gonna come up?
The black hole thing. It was just like it was just something that Noah and May could connect on, because that was a big deal for Noah, because that was like, oh, she has like an understanding like in a way of thinking similar to mine. Yeah, so it made him think a little differently about how smart she was. That's about the extent of that it's gonna go if they can't go any further with it.
I think they could work it
because there's also just not going to be another telescope just conveniently laying around. I'm sure,
but you never know. There could be subtle jabs. I mean, they had. Anyway, I'll leave it.
How convenient. There was no wind or anything to move it around at all. The thing just kind of stood there.
What?
The telescope, it just never moved the entire time. Maybe a
I
fucking
mean, it's
horse.
a fucking telescope.
I know, but horse runs into it or some shit. There's fucking gorillas and apes wandering around. I'm sure someone would have played with it by then.
Oh please, I'm ending it on that.